Russia's invasion of Ukraine, starting back in 2014 when they annexed Crimea. Russia swarmed in, and the world didn't respond like we should have. We got another chance, unfortunately, to show the 21st century that we are not okay with early 20th century expansionism. The world has done an all right job of supporting Ukraine. There have been boycotts against Russia from those who can be bothered to participate, but more importantly, we've been giving Ukraine weapons. U.S. recently upped the ante by giving the Bradley a fighting vehicle, not a tank, even though it looks quite tank-like, to the fight. There was a great deal of talk as to whether or not the U.S. would up the ante further in providing the Abrams tank, one of the best fighting machines on the planet Earth currently. Germany and Poland, rather Poland supplied by Germany, is giving the Leopard tank to Ukraine. That's going to enter the fight soon. Today, it was announced the Abrams tank, given by America. 31 of them, I believe, is going to President Volodymyr Zelensky. Today is his birthday, incidentally. Happy birthday, Zelensky. Here is Joe Biden giving the announcement.
Of their courage and the indomitable determination to live free. And through every single step of this horrific war, the American people have been strong and unwavering in their support, and Democrats and Republicans in Congress have stood together. The United States has worked in lockstep with our allies and partners around the world to make sure the Ukrainian people are in the strongest possible position to defend their nation, their families, and against the truly brutal aggression of Russia. I haven't seen the likes of this in a long time. The United States and Europe are fully united. This morning, I had a long conversation with our NATO allies, German Chancellor Scholz, French President Macron, Prime Minister Sunak, and the Italian Prime Minister Meloni, to continue our close coordination and our full support of Ukraine. Because you all know I've been saying this for a long time. The expectation on the part of Russia is we're going to break up. We're not going to stay united. But we are fully, thoroughly, totally united. With spring approaching, Ukrainian forces are working to defend the territory they hold and preparing for additional counteroffensives. To liberate their land, they need to be able to counter Russia's evolving tactics and strategy on the battlefield in the very near term. They need to improve their ability to maneuver in open terrain, and they need an enduring capability to deter and defend against Russian aggression over the long term. The Secretary of State and the Secretary of the military behind me they've been deeply involved in this whole effort. Armored capability, as General Austin will tell you, has been critical. And that's why the United States has committed hundreds of armored fighting vehicles to date, including more than 500 as part of the assistance package we announced last Friday.
That would be the Bradley. Interesting fact about the Bradley, even though it is not a tank, it, I believe, got more tank kills because of the TOW missile mounted on it than any other vehicle, any other ground vehicle in the Iraq War. Let me go back on that. Well, shoot, now I can't recall. Anyway, the modern Bradley, if you've heard about the Bradley from past scandals involving its development, is actually quite a good vehicle. However, man, nothing compares to the Abrams. My understanding, which is as an outsider, I will stress, is that this is essentially my understanding, it's essentially the best tank in the world, meaning it's way above anything Russia's got.
And today,
in terms of armor,
I'm announcing
firepower,
that the United States will be sending 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine, the equivalent of 1 Ukrainian battalion. Secretary Austin has recommended this step because it will enhance the Ukraine's capacity to defend its territory and achieve its strategic objectives. The Abrams tanks are the most capable tanks in the world. They're also extremely complex to operate and maintain. So we're also giving Ukraine the parts and equipment necessary to effectively sustain these tanks on the battlefield.
The M88s.
We'll begin to train the Ukrainian troops on these issues of sustainment, logistics, and maintenance as soon as possible. Delivering these tanks to the field is going to take time. Time that we'll use to make sure the Ukrainians are fully prepared to integrate the Abrams tanks into their defenses.
Yeah, I believe what he's talking about there are the support vehicles that are used to help maintain the usage of the Abrams tank. That in and of itself is a major contribution. Really important to note, the Abrams is reliant on jet fuel, which we will likely have to supply, and is probably going to have a steeper learning curve than other tanks out there. That said, the Ukrainians have shown that they can adapt to a whole lot, so I wouldn't put it past them to learn this quickly.
We're also closely coordinated this announcement with our allies. The American contribution will be joined by an additional announcement, including that will be readily available and more easily integrated for use in the battlefield in the coming weeks and months from other countries. I'm grateful to Chancellor Schultz for providing German Leopard 2 tanks and will lead an effort to organize a European contribution of 2 tank battalions for Ukraine. I want to thank the Chancellor for his leadership and his steadfast commitment to our collective efforts to support Ukraine.
Let me just be clear about the tenacity of the Ukrainian people. They were fighting a fresh Russia with the guns they could scrounge up within their own country at first. They held off a fresh Russia with darn near civilian arms. The fight was helped massively because civilian arms and small arms really are, I'm using terms that that are more video game than military. Let me speak more clearly. The arms they were using at first were not capable of taking on tanks. One of the major additions to their armaments that the U.S. supplied was the Javelin missile. Helped a great deal, but this is still guys on foot fighting armored vehicles. As this sadism cranked on and on, Ukraine's ability to survive put us all to shame. Ukraine has to be commended as well for fighting this war intelligently, including on the digital front. So much is spoken about the war in Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine, because we, the internet, have been given things to talk about. Footage is constantly coming out of that country. There are Ukrainians going on podcasts, just talking about what they've experienced. That's a smart way to fight. And we deserved to be put to shame for dragging our feet in helping every way we could. That said, I imagine there's all kinds of political considerations. They talk a little bit about the rollout of the Abrams, and they talk about it being a months-long process. I even have suspicion about that. If we had to get tanks to a country on the other side of the world for our use, I have a feeling they would be there tomorrow. But granted, there's logistics to consider and yada, yada, yada. My only point is that we have to be made to help through shame and pressure from our allies. And it looks like that combination has worked. So as much preamble as I'm putting on that, congratulations to Joe Biden. I mean it. I don't congratulate him for much. He's earned it. The right move, in my humble opinion, as a human being that doesn't want to see Ukrainians killed for no damn reason.
Germany has really stepped up. The Chancellor's been a strong voice for unity, a close friend, and for the level of effort we're going to continue. Supporting Ukraine's ability to fight off Russian aggression to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity is a worldwide commitment. Not just it's a worldwide commitment. Last week, in Germany, Secretary Austin convened the Ukraine Defense Contact Group for the 8th time. This group is made up of some 50 nations, each making significant contributions of their own to Ukraine's integrity. Each fully committed to making Ukraine remain strong and independent and able to defend itself against Russian threats and violence. I want to thank every member of that coalition for continuing to step up. The UK, the United Kingdom, recently announced that it's donating Challenger 2 tanks to Ukraine.
Here we go. Let's total it up. U.S. sending Bradleys with TOW missiles on them. Germany/Poland. That's because Poland has the tanks, but they got them from Germany, so Germany has to sign off on them. The Leopard tanks going. Now we just found out, let's go back slightly.
The UK, the United Kingdom, recently announced that it's donating Challenger 2 tanks to Ukraine.
Challenger 2
France
from the
is
UK.
contributing AMX-10s, armored fighting vehicles, in addition to the
Baby Bradley, AMX-10s.
Leopard tanks that Germany, like the United States, Germany is also sending a Patriot missile battery. The Netherlands
Patriot missiles, good God.
is donating a Patriot missile and launchers. France, Canada, the UK, Slovakia, Norway, and others have all donated critical air defense systems to help secure Ukrainian skies and save the lives of innocent civilians.
Badly needed.
Who are literally the
Not as bad as planes.
of
better than
Russia's
nothing.
aggression. Poland is sending armored vehicles. Sweden is donating infantry fighting vehicles. Italy is giving artillery. Denmark and Estonia are sending howitzers. Latvia is providing more Stinger missiles. Lithuania is providing anti-aircraft guns. And Finland recently announced its largest package of security assistance to date. You may remember I was asked a while ago what I think was going to happen. And I said, I let Putin know. He thought that he's going to end up with the Finlandization of Europe. Well, he's got the NATOization of Finland.
So remember, one of the reasons Putin had for starting this war was that he was uncomfortable with Ukraine's closeness with the West and with the NATO countries. He has, instead of separating Ukraine from the NATO alliance, he has gotten more countries than I can fit on my little piggies to donate all kinds of death machines to fight off his henchmen. And the moment the war ends, he has virtually guaranteed that Ukraine is joining NATO. They'll be welcomed with open arms. They are the heroes of the 21st century thus far. Y-31 tanks, that's apparently because that is how Ukraine divides up its fighting forces, whereas I believe America runs tanks in groups of 50. The sum total, though, means that Ukraine is going to go into the spring heavily armed in comparison to how it went into the winter. Why is that important? The spring is when common reasoning suggests that Russia will try another major offensive. We're bracing for that. It will be met with hellfire. Good. The long rollout of the Abrams, I think I heard like September might be the when they're actually fielded. It could be much earlier. There was a ton going on at the second press conference, which I have linked in the description, and we'll do a further video on at a later date. But the long rollout is not such a concern to me, because there is also the psychological game being played as well. If you are Russia, if you're a Russian soldier, and certainly if you're a Russian commander looking at the butcher's bill at the end of the day, and you're fighting the Leopards, and you're fighting the Howitzers, and you're fighting the Bradleys, and you look at that, and you know that on the horizon, an even bigger slugger is about to enter the fight. Your recommendations up the chain are probably going to be affected by that. In addition, it is a war. Some of this stuff being sent is going to be destroyed. And to know that it will be replaced in the lines by bigger, badder machines is heartening if you're on the side of the good guys. If you're with Russia, you should be scared, and that makes me glad.